articles, white papers, you name it, including some things on command center design and construction. So this is what our company does, and no sales pitch, just going to show you that we get involved in a lot of different technologies, but they're all focused on facilities. We originally started as a department within an engineering company, and we branched out to go out and focus on facility technologies. And we do work at airports, at hospitals, at schools, anywhere that there are large and complex facilities that need technology. And of course, big thing is safety and security. In the last 5 to 7 years, it's really grown, and we're going to see a few of those things here too. So before I start talking about specific things, how many people are familiar with this, with the hype cycle? Yeah, we have a few. So this is Gartner's hype cycle. Gartner is an IT consulting firm, and they put this together. They created this to show that very often when technologies come out, you see a lot of hype. And I'll show you one great example of that next. And they typically follow this same cycle. So you start with a technology trigger, which is somebody who uses a product or a technology. You get the inflated expectations. And this is where people say, oh my God, it's going to change the world, it's going to do all these amazing things. And usually this is driven a lot by the vendors themselves who want to sell their product. So it gets a little bit out of control. Then people find out down here, they find out that, okay, it's not all that, and they get very disillusioned. But slowly the technology, people start to learn about it, and eventually get to the plateau of productivity, which is where people are realistic about what it is and what it can do. So some of the technologies that have been through the cycle, this is a famous one, the Segway. Do you remember this? When people first started talking about it, oh my God, it was going to change the world. Cities were going to be redesigned to accommodate this thing. And first year sales, the prediction was 50,000, well, 6,000, and they didn't reach 50,000 for 8 years. So that's a great example of something that crashed real hard in the trough of disillusionment. So a lot of this stuff that I'm going to show you is, can you use it in your facilities today? Maybe, maybe not. Some of it you can, some of it's down the road, some of it's just kind of crazy. And I want to show you a couple things here that are examples of video. Now, we're used to video being on screens. Video is, on your computer, it's on your TV. But it's starting to spread out through facilities. And here's a great example. This is the Comcast lobby, Comcast headquarters. So you see these people? Now, what if you walked into your lobby and you saw this? You'd be like, oh my God, what's the liability? I mean, what's going on here? And it looks like a normal paneled wall. It looks like these people are coming down. But none of this is real. This is all an illusion. This is a giant LED display screen. You'll see that in a moment. When these people go away and you start to see the true nature of the screen, it's not a wall with paneled sections. It's actually an LED display screen. And they do some really amazing stuff with this. And this is on all day, every day. And there you go. Now you start to see that it's not really a wall. And this is not projected. This is an LED screen, just like the same kind of screen you would have on your computer or your TV. So you can do some amazing stuff with this. Now they're taking away the illusion of the wall, and you see that it really is a screen. Now, one of the big challenges to doing something like this is how do you create a screen that's first that large and second that's that shape? Because if you look, it goes around the elevator lobbies, you can see down here, and it's not your typical rectangular shape. And this is how they do it. These are video building blocks. These things are about 1 foot by 1 foot, roughly, and you assemble them just like you could build them like you would build Legos. So you can build a screen of almost any size or shape that you want. The one problem with these things that keeps them from getting more use in facilities is that these are designed for really big screens where you're going to be far away. As soon as you get probably within 10 feet, 15 feet of these, you start to see the pixels. It's not very high definition. So it's great if you want to use another one that just came out. This is kind of bizarre. This is another, whoops. You go back. This is something that Samsung came up with. And what you're seeing here, this is a window, and what you see beyond it, that's a model. So you're looking through a window. And what they've done is they've combined windows with display screens. So let me play this, and you can see that it displays widgets, it can display pictures, video, and one thing that's really cool, the blind effect. Now all that's happening digitally inside that window, inside the pane of glass. So the plan is to be able to make these large enough, distribute them throughout facilities so that you can, display information. They'll display widgets, videos, whatever you want. Now, the problem with this one, what's really holding it back from getting out there, and it's still in the prototype phase, is that it's really it's the same as an LCD screen that you would use for a TV or for a display, and therefore it's really constrained by the cost of making it larger. So right now it's kind of small. It's probably not going to get into, you're not going to see giant windows that are designed like this, at least, excuse me, not in the near future. So, but here's something that if you want to do something like that that's fairly inexpensive and easy to do, there's all kinds of low-angle projectors available today. And what I mean by that is that this projector here, it has to be fairly far away, and it's projecting. But there are low-angle ones. In fact, there's a projector that you could put probably about right here that would be able to give you that same size image from that really short throw. And that's what we did here. This is our office, and you can see this is a screen in the lobby of our office, and people are always looking at this, and they're like, what is it? How does this work? They look behind it, they see it's just a pane of glass, it's not rear projection, and they kind of freak out, like, how are you doing this? And what it is, it's a projector up in the ceiling that's at such a steep angle that it projects down that you can't see the projector. It's hidden on the ceiling. So it's kind of a cool effect. It's, it's more of a wow factor than being purely functional, but sometimes you want that. So when you look at how information is being distributed in a facility, this is a kind of a crazy thing right here, but this is projected imagery that uses a camera to detect motion, and then it adjusts the imagery so you can see how it's changing what's on the floor. Now, in this particular instance, this is a goofy little thing. It's for promotional purposes. But some people at MIT have figured out how to take this kind of technology and connect it up to RFID badges. So in some facilities that we do work with, especially the very high security, government, that kind of thing. I apologize, my throat is so scratchy today. They use RFID badges, and these badges are active, so meaning they have a little battery, and they actually chirp out an active RFID signal. Now that is a really good thing because the range is greatly increased, so you can put sensors around the facility, and you can actually watch somebody walk on a floor plan on the screen. You can see them, what room they're in, you can watch them walk down the hall in live time. So this is a pretty cool technology, but if you combine it with this, what happens is, in the test that they did, when you walk through the facility, you come to an intersection, and the projector above shines on the floor an arrow with your name on it. It knows you're there because of the tag, and it knows where you're going, and it shines the tag and puts your name down there. And the reason they developed this was, hang on for a second, technology. Sometimes it's just a loose cable. And the reason they did this is they had a very large facility, and they had a lot of floating workforce that came through, And they used to spend a lot of money having people walk these people through because they had to be guided because it was a high security facility. So now they've got cameras, they can see people, the people can guide themselves, they save a lot of money. And that's a pretty extreme situation. Most facilities don't have that, but that kind of technology, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, that's going to make it into facilities, and you'll be able to do wayfinding. Like, another cool thing, MIT has a video, a smartphone app, where it actually, with a projector, projects arrows onto the floor, so you can walk along through the facility, and it'll tell you which way to go. So that's another thing. It's out there, but it's coming. So video it's even on floors. See this floor here? This is a video floor. Now this guy doesn't know it, and this may not be the best use of video floors, but these are devices, tiles that are made specifically for floor use. They're waterproof, they're ruggedized, but check out what they did with them here. Watch the floor. Oh, come on, technology. Don't do this to me. Hang on. All right, there you go.
That's great.
Might be effective for getting in a lawsuit, but some places are using those, and they're embedding them in floors for, again, a lot of this is being used right now in its initial stages for promotional things, for advertising, but, there are practical uses that can be, that we can use these things for. Except for this one. I can't figure out what the hell they're going to do with video curtains. This is actually a curtain. It's a flexible fabric thing. It's got LEDs embedded in it, and you can play video on your curtains. So, I just thought it was weird. Now this one, has anyone heard of projection mapping? Okay. Projection mapping is something we haven't seen a lot of in Chicago. In fact, we've only seen like 2 instances at some event, and then the Cultural Institute, they did it on the outside of the building. But it's a way of projecting imagery that conforms to the shape of the building. So they build a 3D model of the building, and they build an animation that takes advantage of the building's structural, of its facade, of its shape. So here's some examples of it. Technology is not being my friend today. Oh, really? I think I might be overloading PowerPoint. It's a little finicky when you put video files into it. So again, what you're seeing is illusion. It's not real, but it looks like the projection is interacting. Would help. Wow. My apologies. Okay, so what's happening is it's projecting this imagery to match the contours of the building. So you get these really weird effects as if something physical is happening on the building. But it's all just projected, and it's based on building that 3D model and mapping the animation to the 3D model.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, this one's creepy. Well, Millennium Park has they have the fountains, which are They are basically giant display screens, yeah, and they use LEDs. And that was a heck of a project to build because the things are covered in water all the time, which is, display screens and water are not exactly friends. So that's some of the weird stuff you see there. Oddly enough, that's happening a lot more in Europe and Asia, as is this. This is Shanghai, and Shanghai has this whole line of buildings you see here. This is on the waterfront, and they do some amazing things, like they have a fireworks show and coordinated light show. But this building is actually a giant video screen, and it's built with on the outside of the building. It was purpose built that way. They installed this matrix of LED lights, and you should see it when the entire all these buildings, they have a coordinated light show that's really amazing. So a more practical use of video in unexpected places. This is Cisco's California office, and they're talking to a screen. This is the receptionist, and they're checking in. The woman on the screen is working from her home in Texas. So this thing is amazing because the quality is great, the sound is great, and the sight lines are really good. You can see the camera there hanging down in the screen, so she sees you in accurate perspective, and you see her. And Cisco has been a leader in what they call telepresence and telework. In fact, they saved something like $80 million by having people work from home. And by using their own equipment, Cisco's got this great home office setup. It's a box. You take it home, plug it in your network connection, and it's got everything you need. It's got your VoIP phone. It's got software that sets itself up automatically. It's pretty cool. So if you want to have workers work at home, you get this, send them out with it. You can have it UPS to them, plug it in. It's really easy, and it works. And it includes video conferencing and that kind of thing. So aside from all the other stuff here, one of the biggest things we've seen in video surveillance is high definition. So we're used to, in most facilities, you don't have really high definition. So this is an example of, that's the relative size of an old analog image. 4CIF is better. Most of the digital cameras are like that. But here's something that we've started to put in for some clients. So this is one camera that gives you the equivalent of a dozen or so 4CIF cameras. And it also allows you to, the software lets you zoom in, virtually zoom into different parts of the picture. So you don't have to physically move the camera. You don't want to pan and zoom the camera because you might lose something. Excuse me. This lets you zoom into different parts of the image, and you can see this live. You can zoom in live when the thing is working. So it works great if you have a really large area and you don't want to spend a ton of money installing cameras, because cameras are expensive to install. It's not just the cost of the camera, it's the cost of the cabling and the mounting and the electricians and all that. So if you have a big area, like one of our clients did this in their lobby, and it worked out really well. Because one camera covers the whole lobby, but they can still zoom in on different people and see what's going on. So does anyone know about video analytics? Got a couple people. So video analytics is the ability to look at a video image and pick out objects and people. And I'll show you what I mean. Here on the left, see this green line? That's a virtual line. That represents a geofence. And that fence is set up so that the software says, if anything goes on the other side of that fence, it's going to send an alarm. And here's a guy, he's coming up, goes over the fence, the line turns red, and at that moment, it'll send an alarm via, could be an access control alarm, could be email, text message, whatever. But it does the watching for you. And this works out really well in areas where you're constrained with guard budgets. On the right here, this stuff is O'Hare. So we did a system at O'Hare Airport, and it watches the exit lanes so that if you're walking out of the exit lane, you're all good. But if it detects movement in the other direction, it sends an alarm. And this is because they didn't have the guard budget to have enough people to watch all the lanes. So hype cycle is very cruel to some technologies, and this is one of them that for a number of years there was a lot of stuff on TV and movies, and everyone was saying, oh my God, facial recognition, these computers are going to track us and cameras are going to track us everywhere we go. They'll know everybody and everything we're doing, and it didn't quite really work out that way. Facial recognition is pretty good today, but it has its limitations, and we've put it in for a few clients, some of the high security government clients, but what we've learned is that it's great if you have a perfect angle on someone's face, and a good example of that is Facebook has facial recognition, and they look for faces, and they know who people are because they do this type of measurement where they measure distance between the eyes and all this stuff. But it really works best when you have a great shot of the person. If they're at an angle, if they're looking down, there's so many variables. If the lighting's not right, or if there's a lot of people, it's dicey at best. So it's one of the technologies that it's pretty much here, it's pretty good, but only in the right circumstances. And of course, it has one flaw that actually technology shares with all of us. You can defeat it by putting on a fake mustache and a pair of glasses and changing your face. So it's good, but it's not that good. Here's one that this really snuck under the radar. Some technologies, like facial recognition, just got a ton of press, but license plate recognition really snuck under the radar, sort of the opposite of the hype cycle. And I want to show you, this is a real demonstration of a product. You look at these vehicles, they're going 60 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour, and it's reading the plates from this view and pulling out the plate numbers that fast. So this is a technology that really advanced quickly. In fact, it speeds up to about 100 miles an hour. These cameras can still register really well. Most people don't even know this is out there, but it is, and it's being used mostly in a couple of areas. One is, believe it or not, casinos. All the casinos all over the world, they've got these at the front door. So when you pull up, this thing's scanning your license plate. And the reason they do it is they want to know when the high rollers are coming in. If someone shows up and their plate is registered as special attention, they pull up, they get a crowd of people coming out just to take care of them and check them in and like that. So that's one area. The other is law enforcement, and it bothers me a little bit, but then it doesn't because I don't have to worry because they're not looking for me. But they do have these on cars. They have these cameras mounted on some police cars here in the city too, and they're driving around and they're looking for wanted plates. Now, another thing that most people don't know is it used to be a secret, but it's not anymore. O'Hare Airport. If you go to O'Hare Airport, when you drive in and you drive out, your license plate is scanned just like this, and it's recorded. It's checked against a database, FBI, Homeland Security, that whole thing. I forget how many millions it reports every year, but if you're wanted by the federal government, chances are pretty good you won't make it to the terminal if you drive through there. So we put these cameras in, and they're behind signs, so when you drive in there, you really don't see them, and most people have no idea they're there, but they are. And that's, I think that's one of the scariest things about all this technology is, if it's used to help people, that's great, but you wonder where's that tipping point? Where does it get to the point where they've got too much information, that they've got everything about you? And we're sort of getting there, because if you look at how companies are now aggregating data from purchases and from web usage and all that, there are companies like Google is a big one that really tracks a lot of information about you. And what most people don't know is that the federal government is prohibited from collecting that information on people, but it's not prohibited from going to those sources and purchasing that information when they have an investigation. So if they have probable cause, they can go to a lot of different data sources to find a lot of information about you. most recently, of course, cell phone records was a big thing. Because cell phone records, it's all tracked, and sometimes they want that information and they're getting it. So let's move on to augmented reality. So how many people have heard of this? Okay. So augmented reality is a way of taking a view of reality and layering on digital information. And you need a few different things here. You have to have some kind of device that can combine your view of reality with the data. The device needs to know its location, so either it's got to have a GPS signal to say I'm here, or it's got to have an image marker, and I'll show you both these in a second. So what happens? Like, these are views of augmented reality on a cell phone. So if you've got a cell phone with an AR on it, and there's plenty of them out there. There's a free one called Wikitude that's pretty cool. When you load that, you can look around and say there's one that helps you find CTA locations in the city. And you turn it on, and you can literally look around, and when it finds one, it'll show it right on your screen. And I'll show you an example of that here. So what you're seeing there is, you see the little icons, all this stuff that pops up on the screen, the little faces and all that? So that's layered on. So what you're seeing, what this person is seeing is the cameras, the phone's camera. You can see there, see those little icons? It's layering those onto the live view of the street. And what it does is it connects to different databases, different data sources. Let me go back to, say, right here. And this is a good one. If you look at those little, see how they move along with the scene? That's because they're actually tagged onto physical locations. The software knows where you are and what position the device is in, and it tags those little digital elements onto reality. So now in facilities, how would you use this? Well, one of the things about facilities that is different than that app we just saw is that we're indoor. GPS doesn't work. So what we have to do is use other technologies. So there's indoor positioning technologies, and there's markers, which I'll show you in a minute. But this is an example of, this is an application for doing maintenance on a machine. And this is some bizarre machine. I'm not even sure what it is, but it could be a boiler, it could be a chiller, something like that. And it's layering on all this digital information on top of the view of reality. So this is in real time. He's holding the tablet up in front of this machine, and it's showing him what to do, how the parts work. And it'll even show you in a minute here. You'll see it shows, it gives you information, and it'll show how to actually do the work. So right now, there we go. It's actually showing you, and that's not real. That's been layered onto the view of reality. So it's showing you, here's what you have to do. So it's being developed by a number of different organizations. The military is using it, and it's also being used. Okay, what happened there? I think my connection here is loose. Apologize for that. And it's being used in a variety of different ways for telling you, technology is not being my buddy today. This is why we don't build a lot of mission-critical products on Microsoft. Sorry, Microsoft. So how do you use it in the facility? Well, this is an example. Anyone heard of building information modeling? Yeah, we got quite a few. When you building information modeling is when you design a building using a 3D digital model as opposed to traditional floor plans. And well, what do you do with that model after the building's built? Well, one of the things that we came up with is, and this is a little test we did in our office. And this is, you see this marker here? The marker is showing, is attached to the wall, and it is there for the augmented reality app to look at. And so when you turn on augmented reality, it sees the marker and it knows where it is. And it layers on the information from the building information model. So it's showing you what's behind the wall at that point. There's a waistline, data cabling, that kind of thing. And it allows you to, well, for one thing, solve one of the problems I'm sure that we've all experienced. You get people in to do whatever kind of work. They drill holes through walls. Sometimes they hit water lines. This has happened to me a number of times. And it's one thing to look at it on a floor plan, but when you can see it in real time, in real perspective, it really opens up what's behind the walls. So everything that I've showed you so far, it's been using a tablet or a cell phone or something that you've got to hold. And Google has come up with their own version. So Google Glass, how many people have heard of this one? Yeah, Google's got the word out. It's really amazing. It's a pair of glasses with a little computer and a screen and a camera. And what this thing allows you to do is not only layer information or display it in front of you, and you'll see this here, it lets you connect to other data sources, to communications, and it's voice operated. The voice operation is really good here. The voice recognition is amazing. So the guy says, you can see in the upper right, he says, okay, Glass, recognize this part. It does image recognition and knows what that part is. This is in action right now at GE when they've got a pilot program to maintain jet engines. They're using Glass. So he keeps talking to it. You see his words up there. He's going to do maintenance. So it recognizes the engine. It pops up. That's the list of tasks. That person there was someone talking to him. They're communicating. Now he's connected up his view to the borescope, which goes inside, and he can see through the borescope in the little window. So this perspective is what he sees from the glasses. That little projected window in the upper right, you see that. And I actually put parodies on it. It's amazing. It's really clear. It looks fantastic. So different views from different people here. This guy just sent him a message by talking, said, hey, I'm here with the blade. Guy shows up. And again, task list, you can see how things are getting checked off. And all by voice command. That's something that they've been struggling with voice command for a few years now. And they've really gotten to the point where that stuff is working pretty good. Now, what's the downside? Well, Google Glass is expensive. Now, that'll come down, I'm sure. And it says plus lenses because you can wear it without glass lenses, or if you have a prescription, you can have your lenses put in there. So that's one thing. It's kind of a lot when you think you can get a $300 or even less smartphone that could run an augmented reality app. So the other thing is it's not really out yet. Everything's in prototype right now. Even though there's been a lot of hype, you can't really buy anything yet. And of course this. The problem that people experience with someone wearing glass, and I've been in the same room with somebody and talked to them.
Love that.
Here's this guy with a camera on his face, and it's looking right at you, and you don't know what he's recording or what he's seeing, or we know that one of the applications they're playing with is it does facial recognition and then digs up your information and displays the little window. So it's great, I suppose, if you're meeting somebody that you can't remember their name. It pops it up for you. That's good, but you just don't know what's going on. And it freaks you out a little bit. So I think, in a lot of situations, I don't know how much social acceptance it's going to get. So away from video and augmented reality, there's some cool things happening with solar. One of the things I think has tremendous potential is solar generating windows. So you imagine if you can cover the outside of a building with solar generating windows. I mean, you look at the Sears Tower, they did a calculation of how much sunlight energy hits that building every day, and it's just huge. It's like gigawatts of power that they could be generating. So there's a few different approaches. This is one where they sandwich the solar cells inside 2 sheets of glass. There's others where they use tiny little spheres that, oddly enough, the spheres tend to, they can take light from any direction. So you can get reflected light generating electricity as well as direct light, and those are embedded in the glass. So again, these are actually real and on the market and you can buy them, but before it becomes mainstream and really affordable, it's going to be a while. Stick-on solar, I love these. You can buy these things now, and they're not that expensive. And roll them out and stick them onto your roof, instant solar panels. And one of the great benefits is that they're not subject to, well, the installation, of course, is easy, but they're also not subject to wind loads, and you don't have to worry about normal solar panels. They get blown around a lot. Now, this is sort of a no-tech tech, where they designed this building. This is actually, it was just completed in Milan, the vertical forest. And by just covering the whole outside of this building with trees, what happens is it, A, reduces the temperature inside the building during the summer tremendously. And they've also found that the trees help to clean the air, and they just provide a really enjoyable atmosphere. Imagine this, you're in a skyscraper, you look out your window, you have a little patio with trees and plants and everything. It's quite different. Wind turbines, too. This is another one that, has anyone seen the wind turbines in Chicago? Because a few people have. They are here. I'll show you a couple of them in a minute. These are the ones that we're all used to seeing. And not really practical for Chicago, but this is something new. These are wind turbines. It's kind of a spiral, cylindrical wind turbine. And these are amazing because they can take wind from any direction. Now that's in Chicago. That's on the roof of a building on the north side. And the way these things are designed, they're very efficient. They won't rotate more than 200 RPMs. And that guy, by the way, that was the guy who invented this one. And they're really easy and simple to use. You can install them very quickly and easily on any facility. In fact, he sells complete packages. You just buy the package, mount it, plug it in. It's got the power converter and connect it to your grid. So that's it. So where will all these things go? Who knows? When you look at the hype cycle and you realize that there have been so many technologies that have come up and people have raved about them, and where do they go? Sometimes they disappear. But there's a lot of people out there who are focused all of a sudden on facilities and the technologies used to design and construct and manage them. And I think that some of these things, you'll see, give it a while, you'll see these in your facilities. Others, we may never know. So thank you very much.
I'd like to open the floor for any questions for Tom.
A little different because we don't sell products. We like to say we sell solutions. And we typically have clients come to us and say, here's my problem, and whatever it is. And we find the right technology. We help them figure out, does it work for them? And that includes, a big part of it is TCO. If your total cost of ownership is crazy on it, you just can't justify it. And there's different ways of looking at that. Some of our clients are in public safety, and they have the luxury of not having to worry about total cost of ownership. They can just say, I need this because it's for security, and they can secure a budget based on that. But most of us in the vast majority of facilities, yeah, we got to worry about total cost of ownership, and it can be a tough calculation. So easier on something like the solar panels. You can do that pretty easily, but yeah, that's part of what we do. And we vet a lot of technologies. That's one of the things that I focus on is I look at what's out there, which products are the best, or I shouldn't even say the best. It's which products are the right fit for different clients, because everything's different. Everybody has different needs, different price points, different sizes. There's a lot. So yeah, does that answer your question? You're good. Okay. Anyone else?
Do you know how many commercial buildings in the city might be using either the stick-on solar panels or the urban wind turbines?
The wind turbines, I know that there are 3 right now. There's one over on, I think it's Jefferson Street, south. There's one, it's a City of Chicago building that we saw. That's somewhere around, I think it's North Avenue on the north side. And there's one more, actually there would be 4 that I know of, one more on the west side. And the guy that you saw on the roof there, his shop is here in Chicago. It's out on the south side. And he's got them on his roof. He gets a lot of his power from them. So it's still pretty new. But when you think about what could you do with that if you really expanded the scale? Imagine some of these skyscrapers where the winds from hundreds of feet up, they hit these things, they come flying down the side. We've all had that experience. You're at the ground and you're getting blown around. Well, think of the wind energy that's coming down. If you put these things horizontally on the side of a building, you could make huge quantities of power. So, anyone else? Okay, then I'll turn it over to Jerry. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. We just scratched the surface of the amount of information that Tom has in his head. Matter of fact, we have him coming back in a couple months to do part 2, because there's more technology that he's willing to share with us.
Oh, that's true. Cloud technologies, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's interesting.
Right.
There's a lot out there. It's fun.
So, quick reminder, and actually August 21st is the next time that Tom is going to be with us. So these are new. It's something new that we're doing to make sure we're trying every avenue possible to make sure that everybody knows about the programs and the educational opportunities. As my presidential letter said yesterday, it's important to make sure you stay informed with continuing education. So keep with the website. We're currently working on, I think we have 1 or 2 programs left for 2015. We are starting our 2016 educational schedule. So we are moving ahead. We're trying to make sure that you have anywhere from 12 to 18 months worth of education opportunities in front of you, so you can plan to see what you want to come. Okay. As Liz mentioned, please make sure you complete the evaluation and get your IFMA on your way out. Thank you very much for coming. I also want to mention one thing we've been doing in the last couple of years is we support education through the IFMA Foundation. So every speaker we have, we donate $25 in their name. So for Tom, we donated $25 in his name. Thank you very much.